Jamaica, all of us here are Jamaicans on here. And, Jamaica has its challenges like every other country. Jamaica has, an issue with violence. I don't think this was on the show last week, but after the show, we're talking about the recent raping and killing of a beautiful 20-year-old young lady in Jamaica, which got the attention of the whole country. And in Parliament, everybody had something to say about it. And in speaking about it, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said, yeah, it's good we're all focused on this right now, but essentially it's not going to last. We're going to get back to doing what we always do. Just kind of move on. And he said a few interesting comments. So one, he talked about Jamaican culture and putting out responsibility for the state of violence. And one thing that he said is we have to look at certain aspects of Jamaican culture like corporal punishment. So he said, essentially, when we punish our kids through violence, we are teaching them that it is okay to resolve conflict through violence. So before I get into the rest of what he said, what do y'all think about that? Parents, are you a parent, Mika?
Not yet.
All right.
But I'm a teacher,
yet,
so
yeah.
very
Okay.
close.
Okay, so you beat?
Yeah,
you beat
you're
that
a
classroom?
parent. If you're a teacher, you're a parent. You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
kids more than we do.
All right. So what do you think about that statement? That if
I don't agree with it.
you don't agree with it?
No.
You don't think?
I
Okay.
think that there are some children that learn best through very firm actions. I'm not gonna say beating necessarily. I remember when
He's talking specifically beating. That's
Okay,
what he's
well,
not talking about discipline.
If
He's talking about
specifically beating. It also depends on the type of beating that you're giving. You can give the child a pat on the shoulder, a slap on the hand, or a nap on the wrist. But
like Grandpa Davis used to say, pick the bat if you get licked.
Murderation beating or what? What kind of beating is he talking about? Is he referring to?
He's talking about what? I mean, he didn't specify, but he's with a whip or a cane and just beating them, and so the violence. He said that is an issue, and that now gets into the kids' minds of the way to resolve conflict is through violence. So you don't think there's any point to that at all? Okay.
I don't think there's any point to that. I remember I'm sure you guys and myself, we were beaten by our parents for whatever we did wrong.
I was a perfect child. No such thing ever happened.
And him did the worst one, Don't make him trick on me.
Right. So whenever we did something wrong and we knew that it was something wrong, we could expect a beating, and we know that next time we should avoid doing it or avoid letting our parents know that we did it. I think it is an unfair statement to say that it is because of beating, because for centuries, Jamaican parents have been beating their children. And it is now in modern society that
that's the problem.
It is now that the violence amongst the youths is getting worse. So why wasn't it getting worse from back then? Or is it that it is not getting worse, but there's more publicity on it now?
I'm just here to ask the question.
Text, but I mean,
what you say?
From both.
Okay, I'll finish making. What you say, text? Does he have a point at all?
Man,
does that teach a culture of...
Gone too far now. Proverbs.
You said the Prime Minister want a beating?
Hey, I'm going to keep mine short. Proverbs 13:24.
Spare the rod.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. Hey, if the good book is good enough for the good book, it's good enough for me.
Special? I don't come to lie about Uncle Lee used to beat you.
You know,
you're too lie.
I have a funny story about that, but hear me now. I don't believe that all kids need to be whooped to learn. So
True.
we'd rather,
No, like me, I told you I didn't get any beating.
But when remember when I go in 5th grade, my grandfather said to my teacher, "Yo, just save the eye." That is all. Some say, "Yo, but me have other stuff. More save too, you know." But that's it. Tell the teacher, just save the eye. I'm not quite sure what that means still, but
I mean, just beat you everywhere except the eye.
Yeah, just save the eye.
Sick. Nose, teeth, everything.
Everything else. Just save the eye. Right. But I mean, and I never really get trouble. Yeah, me did rude.
You told damn lie. Your teeth orange off by man tree.
So when you say you have to beat the kids so they can learn, that me definitely not agree with that. Because the way people beat kids, in Jamaica, you get dehumanized, and you can't expect to get the best out of a child by doing the worst to him. That's just not how learning goes.
Though, especially that's a generalization. Like there are some
everybody
parents
kill them with lip.
Right. If you have a little 4-year-old and every day the child pushing him finger into the fan, and you say to that child every time, don't put your finger in that fan, and the child wait until you're gone, and pushing him finger in the fan. When him finger cut off now, you gonna be the one with the responsibility to rush him to hospital for them go, and children's is not a good place for you to
pity the road.
That's what I'm saying. For a child like that, that child needs a little beating.
But that's all right. So is that the only way to address that situation? There are kinds of ways to punish it.
No. You can put him in the naughty corner, but
kids are very knowledgeable nowadays. Yes, so with that enforcement, show them why. It's easy to pull up your phone now, go on YouTube, and say, "Look, this will happen to you if you put your finger in the phone." Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
I
So think
can
that's
only
what,
learn
as Caribbean parents and stuff, there was no explanation. You just do, just whatever I say, do. There was no explanation. So you explored and did things, and that's how you got in trouble.
All right, so
now we're evolved and better. So now it's conversations had. It's take away the phone. Nowadays.
Time out.
No,
not the phone.
But then we also have to remember too that children nowadays tend to be more rebellious. They're more sensitive and they're more rebellious. So you taking away my phone,
I think kids are kids and always have been kids. We're just older now.
No,
I don't. There's nothing new under the sun. Picnic did bad back in Jesus brethren them did bad too. Times change, technologies change, and what have you. But I think kids going to be trying to get away with stuff. Always will. You know what I mean?
No, I grew up with some youth them they're Lego beasts, because every day them parents beat them for the same thing, and guess what?
And them probably saying this
doesn't make the difference.
And so there's probably a just reason going on right now somewhere else when I'm talking about you calling you Lego beast. All right, I have a question.
It doesn't make a difference though. You know why it doesn't make a difference? Because anything that is overdone does no longer serve the purpose.
I just
overdo it.
I just might be I gotta get it, so I prepare. Right?
Yeah.
So are you saying that if I overdo this wine, it won't have the health benefits of one glass?
It will get
exactly.
It won't. Definitely. You will see the results.
Foolish that. I have a question. So I think, and I don't know if this is factual, but I think generally speaking, Black people, here in the US and throughout the Caribbean and what have you, are known to physically discipline their kids more than white people. That is, I haven't seen any studies on that.
Man, I don't even have to look that up.
All right. So, with that said, do you think that is a remnant of slavery, where our ancestors were used to seeing wayward slaves disciplined through whips and beatings, and so now when they raise their children, I figure that's how they discipline their children. So do you think that is something that is a byproduct of slavery?
Yes and no. It's a combination of a lot of things. Me take it. Right. First of all, yes, they do that because it works, right? If you look on the...
So yes, you think it's slavery? You think it's a byproduct of slavery?
You ask me the question. All
right. I need some more wine.
If you look at the demographics, yes, black people beat their kids more, but we also have less black kids that shoot up the place, right? We have less black kids doing things like that in a massive way to affect community versus, the other race who don't. And the kids, if they have one little misfortune or one little sad day, then decide to them shoot everybody, right? It's a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. So one thing me learned from my grandfather, I want everybody hear this, right? My grandfather says, a parent, if you don't do the hard work now, you're going to have to do it later. You're going to, right? So if you don't discipline your child now, you can't do it when I'm a big man.
And it gets harder then.
And it won't work. So you have parents out there trying to regulate their kids when they're grown, right?
Once they get bigger,
it is difficult. And then call CPS and say, you need to come film because you won't listen to me. That's because you take too long to curb the tree. You can't wait until the tree big and strong. Now you want to say, him about to thump me down, or am I going to stab me up in here? You wait.
Henry bigger than you right now, so you better watch how you talk to Henry before him body up.
Yo, 6'1" or not, me will jump up there and slap him in the head if me have to. Right?
Take the ladder.
Take a ladder. Just like that, take a ladder.
Hey, when once you get one beaten, hey, more coming.
But you see, I
dealt
with
Daddy,
that from very early.
Uncle, you're getting beat. You're just getting beaten all the way down the line.
Yeah. So you deal with that. I dealt with that with him from very early. So I mean, I have them the kind of problem with him now.
But right? On a lot of side of things, they centralize how they beat us because it was all kind of dramatics and stuff going on when they beat us and stuff. And they all that ain't necessary. Just give me the lick because it looked worse.
Just give me the lick.
I'm telling the truth. It looked worse than it really is. Because if they just took the belt and did this and hit you a couple of times,
kick your lip, Mike, you got this pose.
And all this, all that for nothing. And then when they're done, they out of breath. They tired.
But you see, it's all about teaching kids again. On top of that, beating versus not beating. They need to be able to respect authority. And if you notice the other color, the pitney them around to cuss out all the teacher.
I agree with that. If I know that there are no repercussions, I'm not going to care.
Man, I mean, when I just moved to this country, I would go to church, with a lot of others.
Yes.
And I hear the way them calling mommy and daddy by the first name, like Pete and Thelma. I'm like, what?
You didn't even know they had a first name.
Like Pete. I'm like, who am I talking to?
And that brings me to a little point, my youth. Me never mean to cut you off. It's because parents think that they're their friend, they're their kids' friends. I'm not your friend. I'm your parent. So we're not going to talk like, hey, what's up, bro? You can't talk to me like that, bro. No.
Daddy didn't look at my bridge until I was a big man.
Exactly. So if you don't understand,
like last week,
if you don't understand your place as a child and your expectation of your kids, you do whatever you want and you feel so you can always do that. No, there's structures to these things.
That was actually we spent a while on it because obviously it's an interesting aspect of it. But the other thing that Holness talked about that you know got the big backlash was he talked about the impact of music and the violent lyrics that they consume, just kind of So let me give a couple exact quotes that he said. It's that you take up the AK-47 and turn it in our man's head, that is not right. And though you have the protection of the Constitution to sing about it, you also have a duty to the children who are listening to you. Another thing he said, and actually this is something he said a few months ago, so it's a regular thing he's been talking about for a while now. He said, in the last few decades, our music has been overtaken by violence. By the music we are producing, we are devaluing our culture, which is a very important asset for our economic development. So, with that said, my question, ladies first, is, although dancehall entertainers have the right to say whatever they want to say, bust up a gun in a man's head and kill a mother and a picnic and what all these things that they say, they have a right to say that. Do they also have a responsibility to the ears that are listening to this? Because I heard those lyrics coming up, but I was raised in a home where I'm not an idiot. But not everybody has that. And many people are easily led by such things. So does the PM have a point there in entertainers need to take some responsibility in the lyrics that they put out there and the impact it has in our society? China,
I think that to an extent, there might be some worth to what he's saying, that they should be more conscious of how they put the lyrics together. They could say the same thing, but say it metaphorically so that it doesn't impact children as much as it could. So as adults, we can decipher and understand and read between the lines and know that, okay, he's talking about shooting a man in the head or whatever it is. But maybe it would not be as easy for a child to understand that that is what he's singing about. And when I say a child, I mean under probably 16, right? I also think that it is unfair for the society to force the DJs to caution what they're saying, because music is an expression. So just as how he's able to come in and express himself about how he feels about this whole scenario, the musicians have a right to sing what they feel and express their feeling. If somebody hurt them, it is better for them to sing about it rather than to act on it. So the coin is two-sided. Yes, I'm going to say that they should be more conscious, because if I had a family member then, or a child who is going into the music industry, I would want that person to sing positive lyrics. I'd want that person to edify. I'd want that person to be conscious of what they're saying, not necessarily because they're children listening and they have a responsibility to children, but also because your image is important as an industry artist, right? The message that you're selling is important to getting contracts, getting deals, things like that. But I don't think it is fair to put the thrust the responsibility on the artist.
Okay, great points there. Special. So,
yeah.
Do you think that Mr. Holness is passing the buck from what a government is supposed to do, which is to provide opportunity, education, and so for their constituents? Is he passing the buck on to other things? And so, at them on the fault. Do you think that's what's happening here?
Yes, because, as part of what government is responsible for is to make sure that the structure is there in society, right? And, he's simply just trying to switch the blame to somebody else. But one thing I can tell you, back in the 70s, when, other than from the American culture, the most influential culture in Jamaica was the Chinese culture, specifically martial arts. Everybody wanted to karate, right? And that is one of the most violent set of movies that we used to have on TV back then. But people never go outside and kick up people all about. It never happened. So you can't really say, okay, the entertainment industry is what causing this. You know, I hear people from even Singapore singing Vybz Kartel, some of his most egregious lyrics. But you don't have much violence in Singapore, right? And me never know that they listen to reggae so much that they even have a top 100, right? Or reggae music in circling year round. So, you know, you have other cultures that listen to us, but they're not act like us. And I believe that the music might have a little influence, as does everything, but it does not determine the crime rate in Jamaica, right? People that did that, if the music wasn't there, they would not still do that. That is what I believe.
People dead!
Yeah.
Tex!
So,
yes, sir.
He's definitely shifting the blame. Now, music has always been basically our guide to the streets. So basically, music, they're pretty much talking about things that happen in their hood, their experiences, and things of that nature. Okay. Now, they have a right to say whatever they want to say, right? Now, do they have a responsibility? No. Only if they choose to. Okay, because we can watch a plethora of movies, and the one that comes to mind is one I watched the other day. It was Keanu Reeves movie. What's the doggone movie name?
What's in there? What's it about?
You know, he's not Speed. He's shooting up everybody. John Wick.
John Wick.
Now, I watched the first one, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most violent thing I've ever seen. And then I think they had a second one, and I was like, oh my God, how the hell could it get more violent? And then they had a third one.
Yeah.
And when I say, the whole movie was
killed about 1,000 people in there.
The whole, from go to end, it was shooting. Okay, there was not a scene without shooting. I was like, oh my gosh. So until you hold them responsible for, you know, that, because that's visual. Think about how people learn. You have your visual people. You know, people learn by seeing, and you know, you have people learn by hearing and doing. But the visual aspect of some of these movies that are out there right now are so bad. If you're gonna hold artists responsible for singing about stuff, hold movie directors and actors responsible for roles that they play out. And you're not going to do it. So stop it. Come on, man.
And let me interject something there, right? This is how influential I think moving might be to people in general. I have a neighbor about 2 houses down. He has a little son. Just finished watching Infinity Wars. Thinks he can fly. Puts a towel around his neck, climbs up to the roof and jump off. Breaks his leg. Wondering.
You have a neighbor? You have a neighbor do that?
No, the kid did that, not the neighbor.
Okay.
And he
the
wonders,
neighbor's kid?
Yes. And he wonders why he didn't fly. Now he's blaming his parents. That, you know, they didn't tell him that he couldn't fly if he didn't have a cape on. And I'm thinking,
they want to lick.
I'm thinking, you have to tell these kids that they cannot fly, or they will think they can fly. That is what movie does. He didn't hear it in music, right? Movie taught him that if he has a cape, he can fly.
Sorry.
Right?
So what kind of done said neighbor that you have, man?
You know, so you have people, and I didn't understand it when I got here, that you actually have to tell people, do not do this at home, right? When I was growing up in Jamaica, I already knew I'm not going to do that. I didn't know you actually have to literally tell them, do not do this. Do not try this at home.
So, the dancehall artists.
Hold on, one more point. The other part of this is, these artists aren't making the music for your 10, 11-year-old child, okay?
Exactly.
right? They're making music
For adults.
for adults and people their age or what may have you to dance and party to what may have you. It's our responsibility as parents to monitor what our kids are watching and listening. Okay, so it's our responsibility. I don't know what Prime Minister's talking about, trying to hold dancehall responsible. It's our responsibility to monitor our kids. And I was listening to somebody who I would never think I would get advice from the other day, and it was Cardi B, because she got a lot of backlash about what JoJo, the award. Yeah, performed the award. Because, she performed that and it was, raunchy or whatever. We've talked about that before. And she basically said, look, I performed at 9:00 at night. Your kids are supposed to be in bed, sleep, okay? Preparing to go to school. I didn't do this for your kids. You know what I mean? It's your responsibility to monitor what your kids watch. And I was like, damn, that make a lot of sense.
9:00 is a great time for some whack. Anyway, so the artists have responses, of course. So Bounty Killer fed up. Poor people fed up. So Killer said, on Instagram, basically, government and society go deal with the problems on a shitstem created. I'm done talking about Jamaica's plight and issues after 3 decades. They even said about, Bounty, he will never be done talking about that because that's who he is. So he's, and this is something, I think we talked about this on here before. And, essentially what he said, and this is like coming out of a criminology book, the things that he said, which makes 100% sense. So he's talking about, Jamaica have all these state of emergencies, in certain communities, you can't go certain places after certain hours and this and that, to kind of lock down certain communities, probably all of them in Spanish Town, doing people. So he said, Killer said, it's not a police problem. Basically saying, if you're dealing with it after they become criminals, it's too late. Right. So he said, it's not a police problem. I told the government this long ago. It's a social dysfunctional problem. Moral issues, financial issues, unemployment issues, broken homes issues, dysfunctional parenting issues, and then no social development happening. So if you don't do these things and handle these things, crime arises out of hopelessness and poor education and no opportunity, and that's how people start following gang leaders and because they don't have anything else. So let me do something, right? So that is the true cause of crime. And as Special said, people listen to this kind of music all over the world. Not everybody reacts the same way, and it's because the conditions are different. So my position on it, and Jolene, thank you for joining us. There's $100 fine for being late, by the way. But the way I feel about it is, I see it from different perspectives. And the way that I think about it is that many people have a responsibility. Of course, the government has a responsibility regarding education, regarding providing opportunities, and so on and so forth. So the government has a responsibility. The church and spiritual leaders, they have a responsibility in their communities. Parents have a responsibility. Youth organizations, after school programs, they have a responsibility. And yes, I believe entertainers also have a responsibility. Do I blame them? Of course not, because that doesn't cause the problem. But if you have such a powerful platform, then, it's helpful for you to utilize that platform as many do. Of course, everybody thought they're singing foolishness, right? There are many positive artists, so now again, it comes to the radio and the DJs have responsibility to play that positive music, right? So, just as when we talked about the economic boycotts and that sort of thing, I view this similarly. Everybody do what they can with their position. We know it all starts in the home, but not everybody have that home environment. A lot of kids are being raised by idiots, who are all doing foolishness the same way. So we have to think about those kids who are being raised by parents who are worse than they could ever be. How will that kid turn out? And how do we fill in that gap? That's where, neighborhood institutions come in. That's where churches come in. So, instead of pointing fingers at anybody, everybody do their part. And yes, PM, you can call it out and whatever, but you have to say, what can we as a government do better, for these hopeless communities besides just putting them under a police state? When you're dealing with it after they become criminals, it's too late. What else can we do to provide them opportunities so they don't get to that state? Ms. Kiss, speak on this matter since you're late. Better drop some signs with your late self.
Whatever. But a lot of what
first you have to say good evening, introduce yourself, and
I'm joking. Good evening, everyone. Hi from Austin. It's JoJo. No, but just real quickly, everything that Tech said, I completely agree with.
Oh, no. You need to start over. Come back on that.
Whatever. No, but he said a lot of what was on my mind, and I completely agree. And like, FUBU, for us, by us. People who experience this are going to sing about what they experience. They're going to sing about what they see, what they live every day. If you relate to that, and that's what you also see and what you live every day, you're going to gravitate to that. Hopefully, something goes off in your brain and your heart, and it tells you that you can be so much more, and you don't have to resort to violence, and you actually want to do more and can do more. But at the same time, Itana even had a song that mentioned sometimes when you go apply at a job and they look at your address, you automatically don't get a second interview. They tell you that they don't want you to
job
work there.
Today.
Yes.
We don't need it.
So it's this vicious cycle that needs to be broken. I personally, I don't know how, but to blame entertainers for the content that they put out, no, they're not responsible. But you're also right in the fact that if you have a big platform that's influential, use it to do some good, okay? Yes, your experiences sell. Yes, you can put money in your pocket. You can help your family out, but be your brother's keeper. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you do some good, show some positivity, mentor some youths from the ghetto or whatever. Do your part, because once again, to much is given, much is required, and it's up to you to do the right thing. So
the essence of this, let us not forget the essence of the question. The question is, should they be blamed? And the answer is no.
No.
Another question. Well, that's not my question. My question really is, no, they should not be blamed, right? But do they have a responsibility with the power of their platform to educate and uplift minds? Because, music is very influential.
Right.
Music has a powerful influence on how you think. To me, even more than what I see in a movie.
Right.
That's just me. I can't speak for anybody. But if I'm listening to it, I'm thinking of it that this is this person's personal experience. So if I listen to uplifting music, it uplifts my mind. It puts me in a positive state of mind. And obviously, that it's not just the music alone, right? Because I have the upbringing around me and the parenting and the auntie and the uncle them to keep me in line and whatever. So all that factors in also. But yes, music has a powerful impact on how people think. So my question isn't really, should artists be blamed? Because they shouldn't be. It's not, they didn't create the social dysfunction. Right. But do they have a responsibility to utilize their platform to uplift lost minds?
On a certain level, yes. If they're that conscious and they can bring that point across on a certain level, yes, why not?